So many of you are familiar with the Dilbert cartoons, and too often it feels a little bit like this, that everybody's shouting help, but nobody's actually moving forward very effectively. Now, part of the reason is just the question of pressure. Now, a lot has been written about pressure, and a lot's known, particularly following the work of Daniel Kahneman and others, about what happens to our brains when different circumstances apply. And in major incidents, typically they're rushed and busy environments, and we have a bunch of things going on. The environment's complex, so as a major incident manager, we don't necessarily understand it, certainly not all of the technology around us. And that may apply particularly to our friends from Vodafone. Welcome to Vodafone Egypt. Good to see you here. There's an interdependency of products. So complex networks, complex storage systems, complex database environments have lots of dependencies. So the place where the problem manifests itself, the place where the symptom appears, is always anywhere close to where the cause is located. So we have to trace that back. And as we're doing that, there's an enormous amount of information available to it, but some of it's pretty bad and some of it's good, and it's really difficult to unpack who is giving us known fact and who is giving us opinion. Then, of course, there's the economic pressure. Somebody's constantly shouting at us and saying, well, we're losing hundreds of thousands a minute all the while this is going on. And those can be our colleagues, and those can be external customers. And we all have those experiences where people try to apply extra pressure to try to make us work faster. I'm not sure how that helps, you know. If we're working as fast as we can, if somebody shouts, is that going to make us work faster? Probably not, but nonetheless, they still do it. And then last but not least, we have different teams involved. So we have our team, we have different resolving teams in our organization. We maybe have an offshore location in China or Pune or Gurgaon or Cairo. And then we also have our estimable and lovely suppliers who have their different teams who come into the incident and helpfully say things like, look, well, we've checked our part of the system and it's fine. Okay, that was really helpful. Or not. So there's a lot of pressure. So just in summary, you've got these kinds of things going on for everybody. So that's a bit troublesome. And we'll come into looking at how you can make the pressure a little easier on you and your team in just a moment.
All right.
What Katie is trying to provide you all with is a way to cut the noise. And the way that we're trying to do that is filter the irrelevant information out when handling incident and problem cases. And at the same time, we want to keep everybody involved. So customers and management need meaningful progress reports. They need some reassurance that we are going to be able to fix it. They don't want any surprises. And then the colleagues who are involved in managing a major incident need a clear visibility of what action we have taken up till now and what action is to come. They need shared information, and they need to understand from you as an incident manager what is the path you're taking towards resolution. And the real big enabler of this is the use of shared dashboards. Now, there are still a great many environments where I've seen a conference call is the means of communication, the primary means of communication, and that really needs to stop. We need to move into using shared whiteboards where we can see everything that's going on and we understand where we're heading next with our major incident resolution. And Katie's there to ease the pressure with process. Now, every emergency service depends on clear processes and checklists, whether it's the ambulance, the fire, the sea rescue people, they all have checklists to make responses fast and automatic. So we want to keep that going as far as we possibly can. For those of you who are not Katie alumni, and a few of you may have come along just to see what this is all about, there are 4 things that we may need to do with user issues, and this applies to some extent as much to minor incidents as major ones. We need to understand what's happening. If we haven't a clear idea what's happening, then it's really difficult to tune the intensity and speed of our response to the customer's need. Second, we may need to analyze the cause. Not in all incidents. In some incidents, we simply move to the disaster recovery site, we do whatever is necessary to work around and the user's functionality is restored and everything's lovely, at least for the time being. There's some resolving actions or restoration actions, and there is some work to do to prevent trouble in the future. Not just the recurrence of this incident, but trouble with the actions that we're taking. Because what we don't want is a situation where what we're trying to do, for example, a reboot, actually kicks off a bunch of other problems. So there's lots of information, lots of misinformation. People tend to start in different places, and that all requires careful coordination. So the KT principles that some of you will recognize are here. You have an incoming major incident. We need to, not necessarily in this order, manage involvement and communication and to do one of four things, or possibly all four things. Agree what the solution is that we are applying right now. We may need to be diagnosing the causes. We may need to be understanding the issues if we don't already, and we need to be managing the risks both of the ongoing incident and any restoration actions we propose. So to get to effective action, one of the key principles of KT is these four things need to be separated. So you're all familiar with the colors if you've been on a KT class, so you'll recognize what's going on here. And we're talking about trying to use four different methods. So situation appraisal for understanding the issues, problem analysis for diagnosing causes, decision analysis for agreeing the solution, and potential problem analysis for managing the risks. Now, I'm going to ask you now all to do a little bit of a case study quickly. You'll only have a few seconds for this, and let's just give you a link here. So I'm going to send you to this link where you'll find a transcript of a case that's just started. So you are in the incident manager, you are the incident manager, and if you click the link that's in the chat box, if you don't have the chat box visible, just go to the top of your screen, you'll see a little sign saying chat, and if you click it, that'll open up the chat box. Go to this location and pick up the two-page transcript. And in a few minutes, I'm going to present you with a couple of choices and ask you what you think you might do about the incident as you're reading it. So welcome back. And now, let me just ask you to vote for one of these options. As Major Incident Manager, having read what you've read, please choose A, B, C, D, or E. What is the thing that you're going to do next? Just please vote now via the chat box. So we're seeing some votes for C, one or two E's. There's some A's there. Thank you very much for that. So there's some differences of opinion here about what to do next, and I think that's an interesting thing. Now, I'm not going to say that there is a right or a wrong answer here, but now to show you a method for pulling all the information together and making some effective decisions and communicating with the people that you're working with. Here is the Bug Market Restore dashboard. So what we're seeing here, those of you familiar with KT will recognize the colors, situation appraisal blue, red for problem analysis, green for decision analysis, and yellow for potential problem analysis. So what we're trying to do here is make clear to everybody what's going on, what needs to happen next, and who's involved in all of that. So on the left, in the blue area, we can see that the web login page is slow, all the Spain users are affected, but there's no problem once people have managed to log in successfully. So there's some actions needed here that we've assigned to specific people. So verify if it is indeed all of Spain that's affected. Verify that it is not Canada or India, and have a look at completing the analysis of cause. When we go down to the green area, we can see that we have a number of options that people have suggested, including restarting the database, restarting the LDAP server, restarting the web servers, add a connection, roll back to 5.0, and so on. And we need to have a quick discussion with our team about what are our goals or objectives, and there are three objectives listed here. response speed back to close to normal, not spend too much money doing it, and get it done quickly, and having a reasonable discussion between our teams without going to the full extent of decision analysis to decide what's the best fit for right now to restore functionality. Then looking over at cause, we've got some interesting information about it's only the Spain web client and not India or Canada. And the web servers seem to be working okay. So the obvious next question is, what's the difference between the Spain server and how that's working and India and Canada? And if we can find some information about that quickly, that may help us to permanently solve this problem. And then in the yellow area, we've got some risks that we need to address as we move on with the major incident. And the purpose of all this is just to show you that formatting can help to communicate the information cleanly and clearly to the people that we need to be working with, whether it's management, the resolving teams, or some external third parties who are connected into our link meeting or our WebEx or whatever other sharing methodology you choose to use. Now going to a simpler and less structured example. So what we have here is a whiteboard, and what you're looking at is again things separated into those 4 work streams of situation appraisal, problem analysis, decision analysis, and potential problem analysis, but just clearly communicating what's the status now, what's our diagnostic work, what's our restoration work, and what's our risk management work. And then if you have a look at the same whiteboard a few minutes later, then you can see things have changed slightly. The traffic has failed over normally. Data speeds are slowing, but they're still acceptable. We've checked the software upgrade last night, and we've checked the differences between the affected nodes and the unaffected nodes, and some of the affected nodes seem to have older firmware. So that's a fairly important piece of information that we need to do something about. And the restoration work is then load the new firmware, then the software upgrade, and then we estimate completion and restart at 9:55. So that's kind of important, and also keeping the risk management work visible. So everybody, when they click into the meeting from wherever they are, they want an update, they can see it, they can realize what's happening, and they can ask questions or make a relevant and useful contribution if there's some information they see there that is missing. So the advice from KT is, as it was with your first KT class, keep these work streams separate. Give people clear instructions about how you need them to contribute, whether it's, Jenny, please go off and do some situation appraisal. I need to clarify the impact on these user groups. Please, Jim, go away and do some is and is not gathering and some gathering of difference information. Fred, I need you to just check the risks the longer this incident goes off. And finally, can we just have a look at the options for restoration and make sure we're taking the appropriate next step with decision analysis? So by separating those work streams, what we can ensure is that people are contributing in the most effective and efficient way to getting this major incident closed fast. So, a summary piece of advice for your next major incident: please do open a web meeting or link session at the very beginning. Use templates to display every piece of information that's relevant for all those people participating. You can use Skype or OneNote or whatever other tool you prefer, and maybe separate the management bridge to have a slightly different template for them to see non-technical information that's more relevant to them. This template that you can see in multicolors, and of course the other KT templates, are available to you from your MyKT account. If you go into their login, you can find plenty of support stuff there. If you don't yet have a MyKT account, let us know and we'll get you set up with one. And you can find me here at any time for some further information.